And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, sir.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to a regular scheduled programming here at the show. We have Craig Campbell on the show today. We saw Craig, we talk about it in the episode. We saw Craig a couple years ago down on Lansdowne Street. He played at Loretta's Last Call. Just him, another guitar player, acoustic set, full bar. If you're from the area or you're not, Loretta's is not the biggest place in the world. Decent sized capacity, but it was one of those things where I had never seen Craig Campbell up until that point. And, everybody knows Outskirts of Heaven, whole nine yards. But the bar sang every song that he played. And, may not sound like a lot, but, for somebody like me, who, I say it all the time, I'm just a fan that decided to make a podcast, right? That shit's cool. And I've wanted to talk to Craig ever since then. So this was a treat for me. We've been fans of his for a while now. And to get the opportunity to, kind of sit and shoot the shit and go through the songwriting process and all that, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. So we hope you enjoy it. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's your millionth time here, welcome back. Thank you for the support. If it is your first time, you're going to hear just what the conversation is. We don't edit anything. We don't fluff anything up. We don't take anything out. We don't add anything in. It's just raw, authentic conversation. And I think that's why we're so successful with this. And that's not to pat myself on the back. We are. So sit back, relax, enjoy the episode. And that's really it. What did we do over the weekend? Nothing. Oh, we saw Lee Brice, but we talked about that in the last episode. But yeah, we saw Lee Brice, acoustic, absolutely fantastic. I did go on a rant about Connecticut crowds in the previous episode, so if you want to hear that, I swear to God, it's the same every time, and I don't understand it. But anyway, I digress. That's it. We hope you enjoy, and we'll see you on the flip side. Cheers.
Okay, that's what I like to do.
Good. Well, welcome to the show. This is you don't remember this, I'm sure of it, because it's been a long time. But you and I met each other a long time ago in Boston at Loretta's.
Oh gosh, that has been a hot minute.
Yeah. That was one of my, in all the times doing this show, that was probably one of my favorite days I've ever been a part of.
Why was that one of your favorite?
Because it was such a cool event, the way they did it, and how all the bars had different people in it and all that.
Yeah, like the bar hop. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and seeing some of, my favorite artists in such small, intimate capacities is always a huge bonus to me.
Yeah, no, that was a fun day.
Yeah. So, this is about you. So let's, anybody that doesn't know who you are probably lives under a rock, which is fine. But you've had quite the career.
I've been blessed. The whole idea that you can move to Nashville and get a record deal and have some songs on the radio is the epitome of a pipe dream, But met some people early on that believed in what I was doing and believed in the music and believed in me, and so they said, "Hey, let's go with it," And I'm blessed to have had a little bit of success and be able to wake up every morning knowing that I get to sing for a living. That's pretty wild to think that's ever a possibility. But I've been able to do it, and it's been a good
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah. Now, before you moved to Nashville and started doing this thing, like how, anybody that knows your background and your story knows your relationship with Tracy and all that. Like, how did that start before your dreams and aspirations of being a singer songwriter?
Oh no. I mean, I've always wanted to be on stage. I always wanted my name on the marquee. It was always
Sure.
that was always the goal. But I love playing the piano, and I love playing piano for other people and singing harmonies. And Tracy was one of those guys for me. Like when I was in high school, man, he was one of my guys, that I
Yeah.
listened to. And fast forward, moving to Nashville, and my now wife, her best friend was the house sitter for his band leader, tour manager, and somehow or another the conversation got started about Tracy needing a piano player, and she threw my name in the hat, and here we are. And it was a very, very cool experience for me, and I was able to see what that life was like before I ever even step foot in it. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
able to step back and just take notes, and Tracy was one of the best to learn from, and
Sure.
it was a I wouldn't trade that experience for nothing.
Yeah. Now, do you think that ultimately helps your solo career where, you learn the what to do and what not to do?
I think so. I mean, I would say in an indirect kind of way, and it gave me road experience. It gave me, sometimes you get on the road and you think, man, I don't know that I want to do this, but
Sure.
it was just fuel to the fire for me. And honestly, knowing Tracy and meeting some of the people that he was working with, Nashville is such a small town and such a small networking town. So knowing him, meeting his people, and his people introduced me to their people, and it's just it was definitely a door that was opened that I was able to step through and just meet the ultimately down the road the folks that I needed to meet.
Yeah. Now, how much stuff had you done, how much, when it comes to songwriting and releasing music, were you doing while you were doing that stuff with Tracy?
Well, if I wasn't on the road with Tracy, I was writing songs in Nashville
Yeah.
and singing demos for other songwriters. So it was all like uh, all happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
I was taking the opportunity to play piano for Tracy Bird to pay my bills,
Sure.
and then in my off time, been in Nashville, just playing local gigs on Lower Broadway and writing songs. So it all happened at the same time.
Yeah. Now, with the evolution of Nashville over the last decade or so, how different do you think your career would be now if you had come to town now?
Well, that's a loaded question to me, because if you're asking me how different my career would be now if I knew everything that I know right now, oh
Sure.
shoot, I'd be a megastar.
Right.
I'd be a megastar a lot faster too. Like I would, yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, you did it as I would see it, like the right way. There was no BS, no nothing. Like your talent is what got you where you are.
That's true. Now that is the difference, I think, in what way it kind of was 10 years ago, as opposed to what it is now. Like it, talent is almost nowadays is almost a small piece of it. It's
Yeah.
now it's like who can go viral on TikTok, and who can, and it ain't even got to be associated with music. I mean, I know people right now that are having huge success on the radio that never sang before until they posted a video on TikTok, and
Right.
then they got a big record deal. So it's frustrating sometimes to think that I've dedicated my entire life to this, um, to working on my craft and trying to be competitive in this field, and then you people, and I'm not mad about that. Everybody has a different path, but it's just it's like, man, it sure like breaks your heart sometimes when you focus on something so hard, and then you got somebody over here in this lane that, got lucky kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's all good though. Here, I mean, I'm racing my race, and and I can lose my race or I can win it. So and nobody can affect that.
Right. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because it's like, you, I mean, I would argue that, and this isn't a negative thing, but, you know, Outskirts of Heaven had a huge push through TikTok. There was a time there where like you couldn't go on TikTok and not see that song in somebody's video for whatever reason.
Yeah. No, and honestly, I embrace stuff like that. I just wish
Yeah,
talent. I just wish talent was more of a focus, because
sure.
there's so many talented people on this planet that that may or may not be good with a camera, may not be good with TikTok. They may not be, you know. I just wish people would spend a little more time trying to find good music and good talent, as opposed to just finding a viral moment. It's almost
Yeah,
like there's this thing that it's if something goes viral, it then becomes cool to say, hey, I like this person. And then you ask them, well, what's name one of their songs? They can't think of. They just know that person is viral at the moment,
right.
and their friends love that person. So since my friends love that music, I'm going to love that music no matter what. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just that's my 2 cents.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been seeing it a lot lately where, some of these, and I roll my eyes at it too because I think it's asinine, but, some of these viral, people may or may not have a little bit of talent, but they have a sound, right? And then, people like me and people that actually care about the music, like will start to dig and find other artists that actually don't have a viral song or whatever.
Mhm.
And those individuals are even more talented, and those people are getting the recognition now too, which is nice.
Well, I mean, and good. That's awesome that you do that. But I think you're in a minority group when it
Bro,
comes to listening to somebody and saying, "Oh, wait a minute, here's somebody that's like being suggested," and then you start digging. But most people don't do that. They just grab at the first flashy toy that they see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, when you're writing songs and doing all that, are you crafting things particularly so that they're, I've heard you say that, you don't want to write a song or sing a song you never want to sing over and over again, or not to butcher your quote or anything, but
That was
are
actually
you
a quote. That was actually a quote from Tracy Bird to
right,
me.
right,
To me,
right.
but yeah, go ahead.
Now, is that what, to me, your songs are fantastic. Now, is that why they're so good? Is because it's songs you don't ever not want to sing?
I I always try to keep that in mind. I mean, there's always especially like 5 or 6 years ago when I was signed to a record label, you thinking you're always in your brain. You're thinking, man, I need to write a song that's gonna be commercially viable, and
Sure.
you got to think about what does radio want, that kind
Right.
of thing. But now that I'm independent and I've been doing music for the past 5 years, all on just for the sole purpose of making myself happy and making my family proud of me. Uh, so when you start thinking of it like that, it truly does become more of a pride thing, to where I'm only my time is valuable. I'm not interested in sitting in a room trying to write a song that I don't love, and
Sure.
so it's just I don't write near as much as I used to, simply because I'm only going to write with people that I love to write with, and and even if I'm sitting with the people that I love to write with, and we're starting down a road of a song that neither one of us are passionate about, we'll stop and scratch it and start all over.
Yeah.
It's just it priorities are definitely different these days when it comes to songwriting.
Right. Right. Now, with your latest single, I saw that Jonathan Singleton has a writer credit on it.
Yeah,
Now, did that relationship with Jonathan come with this song, or had it been a relationship you've had previous to that?
I've known Jonathan a while. We've written songs together. I um, I don't even know how I got this song. Matter of fact, I cut 2 songs back 10 years ago, and this song was one of them, and then another song called Yours If You Want It that was later recorded by Rascal Flatts. I've always been a fan of Jonathan's singing. I've been a fan of his songwriting. I think he's one of the best songwriters ever. And so me finding this song had nothing to do with like my relation. I don't even know how I got the song. I'm sure it was emailed to me somehow. But yeah, but I do love, like, anytime I see Jonathan's name on a song, I always give it, I always listen to the whole thing because it's more than likely going to be a great song.
Right, right. And I mean, anybody that knows anything about the country music world, especially right now, like if you were to Google Jonathan Singleton hits or songs, it's the list is long.
Oh yeah,
You know, it's like anything he touches turns to gold.
right.
You know, he's a. I mean, everybody talks about Ashley Gorley, but you know, I don't think Singleton gets the credit that he deserves.
Well, Ashley, I mean, Ashley's he's a phenomenon for sure.
Yeah.
He's got quantity and quality, but yeah, nothing to take away from Singleton. Or there's a bunch of others, but yeah, he's a behind the scenes kind of guy. Especially now with all the Luke Combs stuff.
Yeah,
he's crushing it.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this, right? As a songwriter, right? And you write a song and it goes out, like you were just saying, Rascal Flatts cuts a tune or whatever. And, as a songwriter and somebody else cuts your tune and does well with it, is there a part of you as a songwriter that's like, damn it, that was my song?
Well, I didn't write Yours If You Want It, but I cut it and was very excited about that song and had plans for that song. And then when I heard it was on the radio, it was very, I mean, for a minute there, I was pretty hot. I was calling my label and saying, what the hell, how did this happen?
Sure.
I was calling the publishers because, they pitched it to Rascal Flatts and they knew that I had cut it. And so I was calling them and raising hell. And, but there was nothing I could do about it. And since I'm not a songwriter on it, I didn't have really much to say. And so then I put my songwriter hat on. I said, man, you know what? It's good for the songwriters that Rascal Flatts cut this song. However, I wish they would have called me and said, hey, Rascal Flatts wants to cut this song. How do you feel about it? I just wish I'd have gotten a heads up,
Sure.
That's all. I think the biggest part was just I was caught off guard. But no, I for a minute I was upset, but it went away pretty quick.
Now, isn't that how it's supposed? From stories I've heard, isn't that how it's supposed to work? Where if you have a song on hold or whatever, like nobody can do anything with it until there is a chain of command that's followed.
Well, that's the etiquette, but just in this situation in particular, it did not happen that way. And
yeah, it's the machine running the way it wants to.
Yeah. So I mean, I wish they'd have called me up. Instead, I heard it on the radio first.
Right. Now, for the last few years of what you've been doing independently, how different is it? Like, how much? I mean, I'm sure it's better. I'm sure it has its good things and bad things. But for you as an artist, how much better do you feel?
Oh, a lot. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but like no doubt about it, being independent, we're able to record the way we want to record, produce. Something that's a big difference was when I was on a record label, I couldn't produce my own music. I never was given the opportunity to play on my own records. I felt like I was a decent piano player, so let me play piano on my records.
Sure.
Or acoustic, or sing my own harmonies. And I never was like. I'm not saying and part of it's probably my fault. I probably should have fought a little harder for it, but I was just never approached and never given that opportunity without me asking about it. And so now, um, it's just from a creator, it's just so much more fun.
Yeah.
I if if I want to record it, I do it the way I want to, on my own time schedule. There's no pressure. I can make decisions. I don't have these ideas, and then I was like, well, let me run it up the flagpole and see what they think. And um, it's just it's it's a lot better for the soul.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're writing your songs or writing songs in general, are you writing them from the piano or are you writing them with the guitar?
Most songs I write from the guitar, just because when you go downtown, it's you or if you're traveling to write songs, it's easier to carry a guitar around than it
Sure.
is. And piano, honestly, I'm if I am writing on a piano, it usually starts going down a ballad path, and I've written a bunch of songs on the piano, but most of the time it's with a guitar.
Yeah. Now, do you find that you have like a sweet spot when it comes to songwriting where, certain um, sounds, whether it's a ballad, whether it's a, more, fun song, like which do you prefer to write?
Oh yeah, I mean ballad. I would say I love to sing more than anything. But honestly, man, I just try to write what feels good to me at the time, and uh, I write with songwriters that are way better than me, and so I lean on them. I'm an idea guy, so I'll have an idea about a song and a story that I want to tell, and we just try to find out what melody fits best and what tempo fits best, and it's always a we never have an ultimate, like, right at the beginning, this is how this is going to go no matter what. It's always a organic, like, hey, here's the idea, here's this melody I've been working on, and it just comes together.
Now, is that hard, you know, to sing a song or write a song that may or may not fit in your life at the time? Like you have an idea, like you write it down, you get it down, but it just doesn't hit for you as a person at that time, right? Um, Whether it's about heartbreak or this, that, and the other thing, right? Um, is it easier to write a heartbreak song when you're heartbroken, or if you just have the idea for it?
I'm sure there's to write a song on personal experience is easier to do than but um, we can dig deep and try to find those experiences, but for the most part, I don't. um, I try to write more of what I can relate to on a personal level.
Sure.
um, Heartbreak is one of those. I mean, I've been married 20 years, and so to find a heartbreak, I'd have to go way back. um,
Right.
so I've written a lot of songs about my girls, um, drinking beer, things that I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, when we do write songs, it most of the times who somebody's in the room that has experienced what we're writing about.
Sure. Now, when it comes right, so I guess that's the second part of it, where you get the song, you get this great idea, and they're like, you know what, Craig, I think this is the best song for you to sing. Is there a level of disconnect there when you sing it because it's not yours, it's not a feeling you have, or do you just this is just what your job is, so you just do it?
Well, I feel like I can always channel a good emotion when I
Yeah.
sing, no matter what. And honestly, if we're writing a song for somebody else, I will usually let somebody else sing it.
Okay.
I don't. I'm not always the one that I don't have to sing these songs. Now, if I know for a fact it's for me, obviously I will sing it, but I don't always sing those songs.
So, other than singing, songwriting, the whole nine yards, it came across me. Oh God, it was like a year plus now, that you you had taken to a liking to somebody that we have had on the show named Cody Coase. Now, is that something you've done in the past where you like mentor people and kind of like give them a shot that you see that, can do it?
Well, no, and because when you're signed to a record label, your hands are tied to a certain extent to do anything.
Yeah.
So I had met Cody. It was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and at that time I had just was 100% independent. And the conversation, I liked what he did, and I thought he was a good dude. And he was talking about coming to Nashville to record some songs, and I said, well, shoot, man, I said I'd love to help you with that. If you need any help, holler at me. And that's how that all started. But Cody was one of the first people I was fortunate to work with.
It was, so that just came out of nowhere. It wasn't like something that you like set out to do.
No, I've always wanted to help people and help like produce. I love being in the studio, and matter of fact, I'm going to the studio today. And I love being that, and I've always wanted to do that for other people, and take off the artist hat and put on the producer hat and totally work on somebody else's sound.
Yeah.
And so that was so much fun for me. And so Cody was one of the first.
Now, for the people that are listening that may not know, can you maybe explain a little bit about what the producer's role is in somebody else's music?
Well, as a producer, at least is what I think, is they got to find out what the artist is all about, what they want, what stories they want to tell, and how do they want to tell it, and try to accent all that and put a product together that is representative of who that artist is. And so Cody, when it first started, I said, send me all your songs that you've written. And at the time he sent me a bunch of songs, and I said, man, I love where you headed with these songs. I said, but I do know, like, I've been in Nashville for a while. I said, there are songs out there that are just better than these. And I said, but I do want to record one of your songs. I said, we got to have at least one song on here that you wrote. And so I said, if you could only record one, which one? And he picked one. And so but I also said, send me 4 songs that you were like, man, I wish if I'd have heard this song first, I would have recorded this because this is me. And I said, send me a bunch of those. And then I said, also send me a song that if you could pick somebody else's sound and say, this is kind of what I want to do. And so I just basically took all that information and I just figured out, okay, we're going to take a piece of all this and make one thing out of it. And that was the process for me. And then but ultimately, Cody, he had to be happy. I was not going to do something. I wasn't going to force something on him that he didn't want to do, or a sound that he didn't want to sound like.
Sure.
And so that was every email, every text. I always ended it with, but this is your record. You make this decision. If you don't like it, tell me. I'm not, because when people listen to this music, they're not listening just to who produced it. They're listening to who's singing it. I said, so, and I feel like that's the producer's number one job.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never thought of it that way. And I actually love the way you explain that. And if I was a singer, songwriter, or an artist, like, that's exactly what I would want out of my producer, because it ultimately gives you, as the producer, kind of that, I don't want to say power, but like that influence, but also leaves it up to the artist to ultimately make the decision.
Yeah. For instance, like me, I didn't want fiddle in my music early on, but my producer, I just don't like fiddle.
Okay.
But my producer was like, no, we got to put, I said, okay. So my first record has a lot of fiddle in it. And then my second record had a little less fiddle. And eventually I convinced him, I was like, I don't want fiddle in my music, guys. And So stuff like that. And Cody, I just, he was green in the studio, but he was like very good in the studio, as it almost, but better than I expected when he had never been in the studio before.
Sure.
And some of his phrasing was off and a little weird. So I was more helping him with that than anything. And then, but even then, I'd say, hey, I wouldn't say it like this. I would say it like this. But if you really want to say it that way, you say it that way. I was like, so yeah, I feel like it's more of a, I'm trying to lead you down this path. But if this ain't, if you want to go this way, we'll go this way. It's fine.
Right. I'll lead you to the water, but it's whether or not you want to drink from it.
Yeah.
So now, with you just released a single and all that. What's the rest of the year look like music wise for you? Are we going to be releasing more? Or are we going on tour? What's the deal?
So I mean, we're going all in with this song with radio, and so we're going to be focusing on it for the most part throughout the year. I have a lot of music in the can ready to go, but we're hyper focused on the new song "Missing You," and then touring. We're going to be out doing pretty much what we do every year. It's about 75, 80 shows a year, and I don't know if that's going to change. I'm in a really good spot these days. I can go out and tour and do the dates that I want to do, and I don't have to do the shows.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I we have a restaurant that's about to celebrate our 3rd anniversary, and then this fall we're opening up a second location. So that's going to be pretty wild towards the end of the year, but that's about it. We just doing a lot of the same that we've always done. Living life.
Yeah. Now let me ask. So you say restaurant, right? Because when I remember the day I met you, I want to say it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday, and you and I were shooting the shit side stage and all that, and we were talking about what the days what things were going on, and like the next day was supposed to be like the grand opening of. I think it was like, what did it start off just as a coffee shop?
Yeah, it started off as a coffee shop, and our food menu took off. So we transitioned from a coffee shop into a full blown restaurant pretty quick. So yeah, it's a restaurant that serves really good coffee, really good high end coffee. We have a full bar. We have and a stage, so it's a music venue as well. So it's a lot of fun.
No, yeah, I'm kind of geeking out on that part because that's something I've always wanted to do. I've been in the restaurant industry, pretty much my whole adult life, and with the success we've had with this show, there's not a lot of stuff up here in New England that is, country related, or strictly country related, and that's kind of what I want to bring here. The venues will play some country, but they'll also play like the party mixes and the DJs and all that shit that I just no interest in. And I want to bring something like that here so that it's, selfishly my vision, right? And so it's always interesting to me to see somebody do it and do it well. I mean, obviously you have a name behind it, but
but honestly, the idea was there, and I felt like this where we are in our location was needed, but it wouldn't be nothing without my wife. Like she's the GM, and she's the boss. She makes it run, and it wouldn't work without her.
Let me ask, where did the food portion come from? Is that like stuff like you guys would make at home?
No, I think it started out. We knew we wanted to have a handful, just 3 or 4 items on the menu for food, because we didn't think people would come in. Like we thought we were going to be mostly drive-through.
Okay.
But so my wife started working at a restaurant down the road about a month, 2 months before we opened, just to kind of get a feel of being in the kitchen and all that stuff. And so some of the recipes that she took from working there and kind of modified them to fit what we were doing, and so that's how the menu came together. But as far as like, we didn't know what anybody wanted to eat. We just wanted to have a couple of items that that we could at least, if somebody did come in hungry, we would have something to serve them. So it wasn't thought out. It was just it was accident. And a lot of this whole process, we've never opened a restaurant before, was very accidental.
That's awesome. Now, how involved are you? Are you involved at all, or are you just kind of like the go
I'm
get it kind
there.
of, you're kicking ass?
I'm there. I swing by. I shake hands and take pictures. And if something breaks, if I can fix it, I'll fix it. I'm a decent handyman. I help with. I'm pretty much a gopher. Like if my wife needs something, she'll tell me to go get it, and
Yeah.
and I love being that guy. And then I make the deposits every week. What else?
Yeah.
I take a few orders. I stand behind the register, and that's my most. When I do work there, my most comfortable spot is being at the register and taking orders. That's the only thing I feel like I'm good enough to be to take that job away from somebody else while I'm there.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I love the way you're doing things, man. I love the way I love, like I said, I love your music. I love, you know, I I know it sounds cheesy and stupid, but like the way we do this show, like I am a fan first and foremost, right? And, I have been a fan of yours for years, so having you here is like a huge treat for me. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out. I mean, I love catching up and talking about things. I mean, this is how we get the word out, and so I appreciate you having me on.
So when's the next time you come into Boston, or Boston area, I should say?
Man, I honestly, I don't know of anything on the books at the moment. I do
You
know
got to get up here, man.
we will, especially with the new song. I know
Yeah.
we're going to be doing some stuff with radio, and which means, and I haven't been up there in a while, so I anticipate doing something with the station up that way.
Cool. Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Again, thank you for everything. It's been a pleasure. I know you're busy. I know you got shit to do. So I really thank you for taking your time this morning and chatting.
Man, my pleasure. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, anytime. We'll see you soon.
All right, Bubba.
Bye.
See you.
All right. Well, there you have it. Our conversation with Craig Campbell. Sorry, I just got distracted. There was somebody outside my window and I didn't know who it was. But yeah, so thank you for coming on and shooting the breeze with us today. Craig's got music out, man, and he's got such a storied and history in this industry that he's almost like the silent Beatle. You know what I mean? Where like he's had his hands in a lot of things, and he's been in a lot of things and done a lot of things, and like unless you're in this world, like you would never know. I mean, I guess that makes sense regardless, right? But like, even if you're a fan of country music, and if you don't really know, you wouldn't know. But anyway, I digress. So thank you. We're back to our regular schedule, I think. I know we threw a lot of episodes at you in the last 7 to 10 days. We've thrown 3 episodes at you. Kenny Fiedler, 2 episodes, last Tuesday, last Thursday. Matt Westerman over the weekend. Which, by the way, Matt Westerman's episode is like our second fastest downloaded episode in our history, which is mind-blowing to me. But so thank you, Matt, for that. And thank you everybody else that's watched and listened. So that's it. So until next Tuesday, guys, keep those boots on the ground, the whiskey in the glass, be good to each other, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.